Saturday night's all right as Connor from Chicago visits Connor in Edmonton. We get you set for the Oilers and Blackhawks right here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. A hard, abrupt start as we get things fired up here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Hope you're having a lovely Saturday night. You saw the Edmonton Elks sweep the Calgary Stampeders earlier, and then the boys had a great pre- and post-game show, Maddie and Milne. And then before that, we had a great Hello Hockey. We're going to continue another fantastic day of live coverage right here on EST with the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Of course, GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Of course, we highly encourage you to join the conversation. Hit us up on the text line 780-218-9999, or, of course, in the nasty chat if you're watching live on YouTube. Tom Gazzola, Hernan Salas, Shawn, Belle in for Matt Cassian tonight as the 0-1 Oilers take on the 0-1 Chicgao Blackhawks, coming off a 2-1 overtime loss in Winnipeg last night. Of course, the Blackhawks opened up their 24-25 season in Utah against the HC, losing there, and Edmonton laying an absolute egg on opening night on Wednesday, 6-0 loss at the hands of the Winnipeg Jets. All right. We're going to get to your starting lineups. We're going to get to your injury report, and we're also going to get to Shawn, Belle for Game Changers shortly. Nanso, if you want to hop in and say hello, you're more than highly encouraged to do so. There he is, holding things down back at ESTHQ. You might want to turn on your mic. Can't hear you. Are you there? I can't hear you. Nope, don't have you. All right, we'll check back in with Hernan in a second. He's shaking his head. Let's go into our starting lineups as we dive right into this one. For the Edmonton Oilers tonight, you got Connor McDavid between Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl centering Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson, Adam Henrique with Matthias Janmark and Connor Brown. Then you've got Derek Ryan between Vasily Podkolzin and Corey Perry. On defense for the Oilers tonight, Ekholm with Bouchard, Nurse with Dermott, Kulak with Emerson, Troy Stetcher, the lone man out for the Oil. As for the Chicgao Blackhawks, here's what we're anticipating from them tonight. Connor Bedard centering Nick Foligno and Teuvo Teravainen, Philip Kurashev with Tyler Bertuzzi and Taylor Hall on his flanks, Jason Dickinson between Ilya Mikheyev and Joey Anderson. Then you've got Ryan Donato centering Pat Maroon and Andreas Athanasiou. On defense for Chicago tonight, Alec Martinez with Seth Jones, Alex Vlasic paired up with TJ Brody, Wyatt Kaiser with Connor Murphy. Out for Chicago tonight, Nolan Allen and Lucas Reichel. That brings us to starting goalies right now. For the Oilers, it will be Calvin Pickard, the 32-year-old, 12-7-1 last season, a .245 goals against average, .909 save percentage, one shutout in 20 games last season. Pickard versus the Hawks in his career, a 3-4 record, .280 goals against average, .921 save percentage, and one shutout in 9 games against Chicago. And then at the other end of the rake, it'll be 32-year-old Peter Mrazek, 0-1-0 this season, .409 GAA, .846 save percentage in 1 game. And lifetime versus the Oilers, Mrazek, a 3-6 record, .301 goals against average, .895 save percentage, 2 shutouts in the 10 games he has faced Edmonton since breaking into the National Hockey League just over a decade ago. All right, I can hear Hernan. Is that you?
Yeah.
Are you there?
I made a boo-boo.
I'm
still learning. It's a little rough. I'm not going to lie in the producing studio right now, but so far so good. What are you talking about? No, I'm just
no training wheels. It's all you, buddy, today. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Shout out to the Elks for a fun game. I know this is an Oiler pregame show, but I was pretty stoked about that one. A good game overall, but I'm excited to see the Oilers, Tommy. We'll see what happens tonight. Chicago played last night and went to overtime, so there's really no excuses tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. And Yeah, I know you're giving out the lines there to Calvin Pickard's scheduled start. This isn't a knock on Stewie Skins just yet, but some interesting lineups for the Oilers. I mean, 2 switches that I know we're going to get to, and it's part of the question of the day. But yeah, I'm expecting a much better effort from the Edmonton Oilers today.
I think everybody is, man. That was a stinker on Wednesday to open up the season. All right, now, so what we're going to do is the Advantage Sports Medicine Injury Report. And then we're going to get into the question of the night. If you're just joining us, hello. Welcome to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show right here on EST. As we get to the injury report, brought to you by Advantage Sports Medicine. At Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, we treat you like the pros. Our multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, we treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach, trusted by the best in the game. For the Edmonton Oilers, 1 injury of significance to report, and we will be doing this all season long until he's ready to go. It is Evander Kane, LTIR, abdominal surgery. He had a couple of weeks ago, and then just 1 injury for the Chicgao Blackhawks. On the IR with a knee issue is former Oiler and former Oil King Laurent Brossoit. So I know he signed a nice ticket with the Blackhawks, blew out his knee, and he is on the IR in Chicago. All right, that is your injury report brought to you by Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy. Hernan, let's get to the question of the night.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one today, Tommy.
Okay.
I just want to bring this up. There's a little bit of crackling coming from your end. I don't know what's going on today. We've had some issues there, but I'll keep monitoring it. I don't know much I can do from here. But yeah, the question of the night tonight, it's a simple one, but it's an interesting one. Are you okay with Chris Knoblauch making a switch between the second and third pairing this early on in the season, which sees Travis Dermott jump up to the second pair with Darnell Nurse and Emberson down with Kulak? Would you have liked to see Emberson get a couple of more games here with Darnell Nurse, or did Coach K kind of move too quickly on this one, Tom? And I guess since I'm asking the question, and I'm asking our wonderful listeners, 780-218-9999 are on the Nasty Chat. But Tom, do you think it was too quick to make that move?
Yeah, I do. I think it was way too quick. I would have kept those two together, let them figure it out, kind of find some chemistry and a groove, Hernan, because those guys need to play with. How do you get better? How do you find out what another guy can provide? You got to play together. So I think that was way too soon, and we'll see how it goes with Travis Dermott, but I don't know. So I thought they jumped the gun for sure. And you've got the Chicgao Blackhawks tonight, and then you've got the Calgary Flames tomorrow. This is a perfect situation to allow a guy like Emberson to find his game and do it with a veteran like Darnell Nurse, who needs to get acclimated and needs to get up and running as well, quite frankly, himself. So, yeah, I think it was too soon. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have liked to see a few more games. Listen, I know they struggled, and I know they were on for 2 goals against. I get all that, but it's just, for me, it's just, I thought it was far too soon to be making that move. But I think I'm where I wasn't as high as many people were on Ty Emerson, where they were like, he's going to be the savior, he's going to help Darnell Nurse. Said, let's wait and see. In the first game, he looked a little nervous, and he even said, he goes, yeah, I was a little bit nervous. New team, new city, new fans, all that. So I get it, but still, man, like, this was the plan, Tom. In one game, you're moving away from it. And it's not to say that they might not go back to it, but to make it in game 2 now, Emberson, I don't know how he's feeling, but he's like, damn, I already taking a step back. Do you know what I mean? And Travis,
I know what you mean. Let me throw this at you, though. What if it's to get Nurse settled in, that they put Dermott with him because Dermott's a veteran guy? What if it's less Nurse's problem, or pardon me, less Emerson's problem, and more so a Nurse problem, where they want to get him up and running? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that at all, Tommy, if I'm being honest. I don't know. For me, it was far too soon to make a move like that. I would have liked to see him for one more game, see what they got, and go from there. But again, I'm not the coach, and I don't pretend. Well, I pretend to be sometimes, but
I like when you pretend to be.
But yeah, it is what it is. We'll see what happens tonight. We do have Belle waiting in the bullpen, so if you like to get to him here, Tom, we can bring in the guy that has a lot of experience.
Well, it's the right guy to ask the question of the night, which I think we should throw out one more time to our listeners and viewers, if you don't mind. Nanso.
Yeah, the question is it too soon to move away from Chris? Sorry, not Chris. Is it too soon to move away from Chris Knobloch? Ty Emberson and Darnell Nurse.
You're mad at Chris Knobloch. You can't get him out of your head.
I can't get him out of my head. I'm not mad at him. I just think it's one of those things where he moved a little too quick on this one. So was it too quick to make the switch between Dermott and Emberson? That is the question of the night as we bring in, let's just see if Belle looks all right here. I'm still working on him, Tom. So
I know. It's all good. The trading wheels are off, Nanso. Nobody's there.
And I can barely hear you, Tommy, but Dusty says, and a bunch of people are texting in that they can hear you perfectly. So I think it's just on my end. So ignore me if I'm complaining too much.
Okay, I will ignore you. We do have Shawn Belle coming up. He's standing by, ready to go. There's already some text coming in. Norman at Combine via the text line says, yes, 110%, putting 29.97 together. Also a mistake. Let players learn. That's from Norman at Combine, who echoes what Dusty was saying the last couple of days. And I understand that sentiment totally. This one from Two Socks says, should Stan Bowman consider trading McDavid for Gunther instead of extending him? Oh, Tube Socks, settle down, Steven. Who also follows up and stacks it up with, do you think the Oilers should look at trading for Dylan Gunther to expedite the rebuild? Tube Socks, how many 6 o'clocker loggers have you had watching the football game today? This one from Naughty Possum says, this Oilers team better come out and be ready to play a full 60 minutes and the roof off of Rogers Place tonight. And then I saw some in the nasty chat that were ready with an answer for the question of the night. Easy E says, I agree with that take, Tommy. Only way I can see them going away from the plan so quickly. I was thinking it's more of a Nurse thing, as Shawn Belle is ready to go. Bellsy, good evening. Great job today earlier on Hello Hockey. You heard the question of the night. Is it too soon to get away from Nurse with Emerson and Dermott with Kulak? Tonight it's going to be Dermott with Nurse and Kulak with Emerson. What say you as a former NHL defenseman?
Well, I think I'm going to be on the opposite side of the coin here. Personally, I don't think it's too soon. I think you're trying to figure out who fits where on the defensive end. There's been lots of conversation about, do the Oilers have 3 or 4 guys that probably realistically fit into that, that 5th, 6th spot. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to figure out somebody that's going to be able to mesh with Nurse, who's going to be able to get the most out of him and then be obviously defensively reliable as well. Right. And right now, all that's happened is Travis Dermott has come into camp and he has more or less done that. And so you look at the last game, Emerson wasn't playing great. And unfortunately, this is a what have you done for me lately business. And right now, Dermott has been kind of the guy that in that top 4. And then that's just the reality of it. And that's the coach's job. He's got to figure out who can fit in where, who can slot in, and who can give him the best chance.
Is it desperation? Is it too soon? They're 0-1 for crying out loud.
It's 0-1. They're 0-1. Like we talked about this on Hello Hockey. We can all take a break. It's going to be okay. But the reality is they still need to figure out their defense. They've got a bunch of new players. They've got to get them figured out because that's the biggest and most glaring hole they have on their team. Mm-hmm. We can sit here and we can flip to the other side of the coin where, Draisaitl, McDavid, and loading those guys up. Well, you want to build that chemistry. So it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, if you will, because in one breath I'm saying, no, just figure it out. But the other guys, you want to give that chemistry. Up front, Yeah, you want to build chemistry because you have the ability to run a McDavid line, a Draisaitl line, a Henrique line. You want to be deep down, want to be, nine forwards deep, because that is a super talented group and you have flexibility with them. From the up front side, yeah, maybe don't tinker. Let's try to get some chemistry going, because it's going to be extremely hard to try to figure out who to stop. Am I going to stop the Draisaitl line? Am I going to stop the McDavid line? And then every now and then you got Henrique and you've got Janmark and you've got Brown, who are guys that can obviously put the puck in the net. So don't mess with things on the forward front, but on the defensive side, you got to find somebody that can help nurse.
All right. That is the question of the night. Is it too soon to be tinkering with the blue line? You just heard Belsey talking about it there. Twitter Mary getting in there says players are professional. They've had how many exhibition games to quote unquote get better? If I am at that game tonight, there's no goals to cheer for. I'm going to be pretty dang salty. Knobloch is supposed to know how to figure it out. That's from Twitter Mary. And then Tube Socks confirms he's had 6 o'clocker loggers and he is now at home safely drinking Wild Turkey. Well, with that take that he had earlier, I'm not surprised he's moved on to Wild Turkey. Be safe, mix in a water, Tube Socks. Scalding Gord getting in on the question of the night says, I'm torn. I'm not an Oilers fan, but I think they beat the Hawks. Although if they lose, we get Latino heat. What's a fool to do? Well, I like the Latino heat anytime it comes out, win or lose. And if they lose tonight, and then especially tomorrow against Calgary, I think we might see it with the way things have gone early in this season. Scalding Gord also adds it may be better for Emberson. He's only played 31 NHL games. Take a lot of the expectations off of him by moving him to the third pair. Sarah via the nasty chat says she is 6 o'clocker or 7 o'clock tea deep, not a 6 o'clocker logger. If you're cracking one, cheers to you as we get you set for the Oilers and the Blackhawks on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. All right, Tom Gazzola, Shawn Belle with you. Hernan Salas back at EST HQ. Let's get to Game Changers with Shawn Belle, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven. He understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out. DamonBunting.com or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Bellsy, number one, you say trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process. Right now, we've kind of just alluded to it. We talked about it. We've got brand new forwards. You got guys like Skinner and Arvidsson coming into your lineup. Podkolzin's in your lineup. There is going to be a time where they got to be able to develop some chemistry, and then go from here. You can get rolling, because they've got a forward group that is ultra deep, and it's probably one of the deepest lineups they've had since the 80s and the teams of yesteryear. So trust it. Trust the fact that these guys are going to be perfectly fine moving forward. Trust the fact that they're able to outscore a lot of their problems. Trust the process. Keep Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl apart, so that you can now have the most opportunity to, I guess, dominate games, if you will, because I want teams to now have to look at their scorecards and say, who am I going to put my best pairing out against? Am I going to try to shut down McDavid? Well, if I am, I'm going to leave Draisaitl to my second best pairing, and that's a matchup that the Oilers want. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, am I going to shut down Draisaitl today? Well, Connor McDavid's the best player in the world, and he's got some pretty good wingers with him. So it's a matchup nightmare. So trust the process. Let's not try to just jump back into the old supernova conversation every single time you need a little bit of a spark.
I also like you brought up the Henrique line. I like the Henrique. I've got a lot of time for it. I thought it was like a good line for the Oilers on Wednesday night. And Bellsy, I know we didn't talk much Oilers earlier today on Hello Hockey because it's not an Oilers show. So we saved that for tonight. But that was a disaster in game one. What do you, as a former player, think of what happened? How do you think this team is going to handle it?
Yeah, I think they're going to be fine. I mean, we kind of talked about it off air this morning, and where, I was saying I was a little bit disappointed because, from the standpoint, at least I guess from a fan standpoint, you just lost Theodore, like they've got some guys that can play, and they've got some jam in that lineup. They're big. Their back end is all a bunch of sequoia trees. So good luck trying to get through that. The Vancouver Canucks, they play a hard style. They're in your face. They don't give you an inch without trying to take a piece of your soul with you. So obviously they're going to be a team that's going to be right there knocking on the doorstep. And then, I guess Seattle might be a team that could probably sneak up, but I think this is a 3-horse race. And by 3-horse race, I think it's really 2, with Vegas and Edmonton being the 2 front runners.
Vegas Golden Knights off to a decent start this season. A lot of change in Vegas. They are 2-0 to start the season, and they picked up a win against St. Louis last night. Both of those games coming on home ice. LA so far in the Pacific Division, 1-0-1. Calgary with that win against Vancouver to open up the season in overtime. Then rounding out the rest of the Pacific Division. Early days, obviously. The San Jose Sharks losing in OT. Anaheim hasn't even played yet. Seattle 0-1, and then the Oilers also 0-1. So we'll see how things go. Apparently, the sound is back. All right. Is it exciting?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Is Hernan there?
You guys just talked for a good 10 minutes and no one listened. You guys could have been talking about anything. No one will ever know.
We just went on like the show was fine.
So this is just a little, it's an issue with the board. It completely just went dark and muted everything. We do have our top engineer, Maddie, on the way. So we might have to swap out the board because we don't want this to happen for post game. But it is, just nothing was coming through the board. So that's the latest update. Glad you guys are back. You guys are crushing it. Now, everything you talked about in the last 10 minutes, do it again.
Okay. Well, when a integral piece of equipment like a soundboard isn't working, and you have to replace it, swap it out with another one in studio, that is a big-time issue. So, all right, apologies. We're having some issues back at the studio with our soundboard. We've got Awanik and Hernan on it. What you did miss was just grade A stuff. I apologize, but we can recap. So I get, Bellsy, I suppose we should go back to Game Changers, because I think we were only one into fine. Game Changers, so we can do that. Before one,
it went dark,
before things went dark, but it was amazing, grade A stuff, I tell you that. Number 1 was trust the process. Number 2 on Game Changers was bring the noise. What do you mean by bring the noise?
Bring the noise. Basically, to me, it's as simple as this: the Edmontons have a bitter taste in their mouth. So we can sit here and say we want to look back at last year, but at the end of this day, it is, hey, you were one short of winning the Stanley Cup. There's got to be an excitement. There's got to be a hunger. There's got to be an intensity to you, so that you can come out every single night and you just lay the smack down on hockey teams, because you're pissed off still about what happened. You're using that as a motivating factor to get going. We all know Oilers, for whatever odd reason, they want their backs up against a wall before they start to stuff. But I don't want them to wait. It's similar situation to when the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. When they came out, every single time they stepped foot, it was, you guys are going to play our style, and you better keep up to us, because we're going to put up a touchdown on you. And it's the same kind of thing. I want the Oilers to bring them, because I think they have a high-powered off that could, literally put touchdowns on teams. Because if you're not ready, well, who are you going to stop? Are you going to stop the Draisaitl line? Are you going to stop the McDavid line?
Right.
And then obviously Henrique and Brown and Janmark, they can contribute too. So there's a team there that has probably the best group of forwards they've had since the 80s. And to me, if you're not ready for the Oilers at full strength, and if they're going, there's 100% 7 on you.
Right. Bring the noise tonight, because they barely made a whisper on Wednesday night. It was not good. So
100%.
Yikes. All right. It is Game Changers. Number 1, trust the process. Number 2, bring the noise. Game Changers is always brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Number 3, Shawn, Belle, defensive deficiencies. We've already seen the shakeup with the blue line, with the pairings, with Travis Dermott being bumped up to be paired up with Darnell Nurse, and then Brett Kulak with Ty Emberson. So defensive deficiencies, and I'm assuming it's not just the blue liners, but the 5-man unit that you're alluding to.
100%. I mean, we all sit here and talk about the defense and, what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. The reality is defense played as a 5-man unit, and every single guy that's out there can do a little bit more, whether that's forwards coming back a little bit harder on the back check to help the defenseman with good gaps, whether that's taking away seams. The forwards can be just
Chicgao Blackhawks tonight. Connor Bedard centering Nick Foligno and Teuvo Teravainen. Philip Kurashev between Taylor Hall and Tyler Bertuzzi. Jason Dickinson between Ilya Mikheyev and Joey Anderson. Ryan Donato centering Pat Maroon and Andreas Athanasiou. On defense for the Blackhawks tonight, Alec Martinez with Seth Jones. Alex Vlasic with TJ Brody. Wyatt Kaiser paired up with Connor Murphy. Out for the Hawks tonight, Nolan Allen with Lucas Reichel also being a scratch for Chicago. Between the pipes tonight for the Oilers, 32-year-old Calvin Pickard, 12-7-1 last season. 20 games he played last year in the regular season. He has a 3-4 record versus the Blackhawks, 280 GAA, 921 save percentage, 1 shutout in his 9 appearances against Chicago. And then at the other end of the rink,
offense, like they weren't going.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
Colorado. Yikes, Belsey. Yikes. San Jose welcoming in Anaheim. And then you've got Calgary hosting Philadelphia. Edmonton gets Chicago. Tampa and Carolina are postponed due to the hurricane. All right, so we're standing by. We'll continue on here as if everything is A-okay, which it clearly isn't. You want to go in the nasty chat and read some funny ones?
Yes, I do.
Well, Tango just said Hernan lost the Rookie of the Year, SD.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's some good ones in here.
Is this Morse code for something, says Tango. Jen Cool says, keep the cord still. Gaming One says, it's all good. We all know the cliches by heart anyway. And Nurse is why we can't have nice things, says Easy E. Oily Sink says, we're back. Over under 3 minutes of sound. Yes, glad that we're back. If we have more issues, our board in the main studio sounds like it's dying, and we will be replacing it in time for the post-game show. But Belsey and I have been reading your texts as we've rolled along here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. We apologize. When your board dies, this is not what you could do at any radio station. So we will try to guide you along as long as we have sound. For those that have been watching on YouTube, thanks. We appreciate you. Tough go as we've pinpointed what the issue has been. Belsey, we were talking about the Florida Panthers. They are losing tonight to the Buffalo Sabres. Ended up being a 5-2 final there. Is it the Stanley Cup hangover? What say you to that?
Well, there's probably a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover, but at the same time, I mean, losing Barkov, who is essentially your heart and soul of your team. He's obviously one of the leaders. He's unbelievably reliable defensively. He shuts down other teams' top lines. Like, losing a guy of that magnitude is a big loss, and obviously it's hurting their lineup. But at the same time, like, if you look at their lineup, they had quite a few changes as well, and I think there's just trying to get their proper footing, and you'll see them start to take off here hopefully soon.
All right.
Although, you know what, Tom, I'm not really upset if they keep losing based on to Chuck's comments of, I did it for Calgary. Like, get out of here.
You sound like an offended Edmontonian.
Yes.
Yeah, you are. 4-2, the Leafs double up the Pittsburgh Penguins as we continue on here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Matt Hyman says, how about that Sam Montembeault, though? A lot of talk about Montembeault being an option for Canada in the Four Nations face-off. He had a huge night to open up the season against the Maple Leafs, who peppered him with, I think it was 40-plus shots. And then tonight, Montembeault and the Habs lead 4-1 with just over a minute left to play there. Pretty good for Sam Montembeault, who has made some big saves. They're showing a nice little clip package there. How do you look at Canada's goaltenders going into the Four Nations face-off and then eventually the Olympics?
Well, I mean, we've talked about this at it's right now. You've got Stuart Skinner, you've got Jordan Binnington, and you got Aiden Hill. The three guys that have been earmarked as the three guys that are going to carry the mail for Team Canada. But you never know what could happen. And if Montembeault still has a great hot season and he remains hot, like, how do you not take a guy that is, lights out? So. Right. There's obviously going to be a little bit of a battle here to start the season. Right now, you've got three guys penciled in, and hopefully, they get their games together, or Montembeault might steal a job from somebody.
24 saves for Montembeault, about to help the Habs pick up another win as they lead the Senators 4-1. That game, 40 seconds remaining as Montreal off to a decent start, 1-1 right now, about to go 2-1. Ottawa about to pick up its first loss of the season. Let's see if there's anything good. Zers R6 says everything that happened was somehow all Darnell Nurse's fault, and I'm assuming that's in regard to the audio situation that we just dealt with.
100% it is.
The board felt snubbed for not getting an SD, says Scalding Gourd. Okay, Darnell Nurse, what are you expecting from him? How does he re-find his game very quickly tonight, Belzy?
Yeah, Darnell Nurse is a very simple case. He's got good feet, good NHL speed, and he's a big defenseman. He's got to play physical. When everybody was sitting back and saying, "Hey, Darnell Nurse, and now start to be the number one," what he did was he took away time and space on the defensive end because he used his feet. He skated his way out of problems. He was physical, fought people. He didn't take any nonsense from anybody, and he was becoming an imposing figure, and teams didn't want to deal with him. For whatever odd reason, some of that stuff has disappeared. Like, you can live with mistakes, but it can't be the same mistake over and over and over again. And that's why much frustration with his game, because these are mistakes that you can honestly sit back and say, if you watch video 500 times, you probably won't make that same mistake. And for Darnell, it's just sometimes he sits back, aggressive player. And for me, and this is just my opinion, I'd rather him make a mistake that's with more aggression than being passive. Because when you're passive and you get picked apart and the guy is able to kind of go through, your feet and pass the puck back door, well, then it makes you look worse. So I'd rather see him, use his feet, be aggressive, and then maybe he can start to feel good about himself and feel good about his game. And then slowly but surely it'll work to get back.
Belzy, how do you think a guy like Ty Emberson looks at this switch on defense where he gets all of a sudden paired up with Brett Kulak and Travis Dermott gets bumped up? Like, do you think he looks at it as a slight? Does he take it in stride? He's only played one game as an Edmonton Oiler. What do you think is going through his mind as a young defenseman trying to find his spot on this team?
Well, I don't think he's going to look at it as a slight. I mean, it's his first game. He's in a new surrounding, new situation. You're on a team that's supposed to be contending for the Stanley Cups. For him, I think there's obviously hey, I'm with San Jose, but at the same time, he's got to try to find his own footing. And right now, it seems like the Oilers are trying to insulate him a little bit more by being, that sixth defenseman, pairing him with Kulak, and maybe easing more minutes as opposed to just saying, "Hey, here's all these massive minutes against high-end talent," and you don't want to lose guys. We've seen that in Edmonton, especially through the decade of darkness. We've given defensemen too much, too early, too soon, and all of a sudden they're ruined. So I think it's one of those situations where they're pulling back a little bit. They're going to try to get him comfortable, get his footing, and then start to move him forward and to progress, because I do think he's got some game. Oilers wouldn't have made that trade if they didn't think he had game.
It is the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola, Shawn, Belle, Hernan Salas with you. You can get those texts in. The audio board is working. It was on the fritz, and we do apologize for that. We'll have everything sorted out for the post-game show. You can text us 780-218-9999. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, get into the nasty chat. That's exactly what we're going to do here now in the last 5 minutes. Chief Andy says Hernan's going to win the Most Improved award, which I could appreciate. It's his first
He's not
show.
Going to get Rookie of the Year, but
We'll find out about that. But it's like, how tough is this? It's your first show producing on your own, and the damn board dies on you. So that's a tough one. Not all his fault. Tech issue, and Maddie and Hernan are working on it. So, like I said, we'll get it all sorted out for the post-game show. We've got a couple of other boards that we can use, and we'll get up and running. Let's go to Gaming 101 via the nasty chat. Says he needs to get his mean streak back. Darnell does. I think they told him to not take so many fighting majors or something. Belzy, do you think that happened? Do you think the coaches said, don't worry about the fighting, or is that something that he kind of decides on his own?
I would say it's a little bit of both. I don't know if the coaches would have went up and said, "Hey, stop fighting," but for whatever reason, he stopped. And I know that at the time, he was obviously very valuable to the team. He was trending to become their number one, but that is part of Darnell Nurse's game. That is something that the Oilers need. They need a little bit more bite in their lineup so that teams aren't taking shots at McDavid and Draisaitl. You have to have that. And I do think that kind of goes hand in hand with Nurse, because when he was being a little bit mean, he was also being a little bit more aggressive in terms of, using his skating and just the way that he played. He wasn't sitting back. And he's a guy that needs to be engaged. And when he's engaged, he's a very good defenseman. So it's very, to me, it's one of those things where like you got to get back to what got you to the dance. And that's not sitting back. I can promise you that. He was always aggressive. He was trying to get up in the play. He was, I've said it before, he was taking away time and space because his legs are pretty good. I would say they're above average in the NHL in terms of his skating. So if you can do that stuff and slowly but surely build your confidence back and feel good about your game, well, now you have a guy that can slot in as your third defenseman, and now you're pretty sound defensively.
All right. This has spurred on a couple more comments via the nasty chat. Easy says, Nurse has said in the past he spends a ton of time reviewing video in the offseason. What's he really doing with that time? Belle, I think he's legitimately putting in time. How much video would you watch back in the day? Like, was that something that you'd actually focus on? Or is it rare for guys to watch video like that?
You would really watch video, but I mean, back when I was playing, it wasn't as accessible it is now. Like right now, you've got Instat, you've got TPE, you've got all these different streaming platforms that you're able to watch your games on, and it's very easy. But I do think Darnell Nurse is putting time in to watch video. Teams are going to watch video. There's going to be individual video sessions with the coaching staff. So it's not like he's doing that, but it's just what my reference was to is that a lot of the times it's the same mistakes, and the same mistakes that he's making are based off of him being passive as opposed to being aggressive. And I would rather see you be aggressive and potentially make that play instead of getting picked apart where you're just standing there and a guy on a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 decides to pass a puck to your feet, because now all of a sudden fans are like, well, what are you doing? You're just standing there. And that's what it looks like, just standing there. But at least if you're moving and you're doing something, I can live with that. I can teach that. I can help that.
All right, a couple minutes to go here. I'm going to read these really quickly and then get your final thoughts, Bellsy, as we get set for the Oilers and the Blackhawks game 2 of the regular season. Tango says he would put McDavid on defense, move Nurse to forward. Haha. Old School Nasty says, I miss the Nurse. That would absolutely ragdoll guys. Yep. M. Materi, 9.25, neutered him. And then Zedmo chiming in with Josh Brown needs to improve. We need him to be able to play a little as well as the tough stuff. Box Pounder says, reviewing video, more like Netflix and chill. All right, Bellsy, final thoughts on this one. What are you expecting between the Oilers and the Blackhawks? Do the Oilers quiet the noise with a victory over Chicago tonight, and how, if they do?
Yeah, I do think that the Oilers will come out and they'll play a solid game. I would definitely think they're going to be more engaged because they got embarrassed on home ice in game 1, and usually when you see the Oilers get embarrassed, they bounce back with a pretty good effort. So I'm expecting good effort. I'm expecting a win, and I'm expecting the fans to be raucous, and it'll be a good atmosphere tonight.
All right, we'll see if they give the Oilers fans and the faithful something to cheer about. I'm reading some nasty chats really last minute here. Rose says, Tom, you mentioned once on EST how you felt Nurse was smiling and happy before. Looked like he enjoyed the game, and now he is more distant. Did that coincide with play drop-off or contract? I think those all go hand in hand, and I have noticed that about Darnell. Usually he's very engaging, lots of fun to be around, and it's been a little bit different the last couple of years. So I think, that has all been a bad mix. That's just my opinion and what I've experienced. So I thought I would share that story, and I think it all goes hand in hand together. Last text. It's going to be our final word. It goes to Scalding Gourd. Can't you put the board on waivers and let Vegas have it? Bellsy, the answer to that is yes.
Well played, sir.
Well played, Scalding Gourd. Well played. All right, we're going to have a new board, audio board up and running for the post-game show. We do apologize. It is on the Fritz, the one that we were using in our main studios back at 8 EST HQ. We appreciate everybody sticking with us during the technical difficulties, and we'll be ready to rock on the post-game show. All systems go. Bellsy, great stuff on today's pregame show. I look forward to catching up with you on the postgame show. For Shawn, Belle, and Hernan Salas, I'm Tom Gazzola saying enjoy the game. We'll see you later, and we'll talk to you on the postgame show. Ciao, ciao.